Hello and good morning. So today we're gonna do some episode 140 of our extreme fun live coding experiences. I see there are already 140 people live watching. Very nice, super cool. So we're gonna take them today. We're gonna put our deep links into the Solana Unity SDK. To do that, first of all, we go to our project and import the package because the Garbage SDK is now also possible to be delivered via Git URL. So we had this, I did this earlier already. So now we have this in here. The interesting thing is this, these packages are now delivered via Git. So they are not here in the packages, but they are actually cached in the library folder. So since we are not at our example code anymore, now we need to make it a bit nicer. So we take the Phantom Deep Link example and then Phantom Deep Link service and try to put it into something that is usable in a public SDK. And it's only 500 lines. So first thing we need to do probably is extract an interface. So my idea is we have like an deeplink wallet. And now we put in the functions that this would probably need. So our wallet definitely needs some kind of init function because it needs the scheme so that it's possible, able to communicate with the app. Then we probably need the deep link URL. So this would be this one. But it would be good if the people don't need to care about this, right? But they probably also still want to be able to change it. So I just gonna put it in. So that would be the deep link URL. What else do we need? We need a We need a connect. This would return probably a result. Some kind of connect result. And would be async, I think. And of course I can't make them public, it doesn't make sense. So this would be void. The connect result we don't have yet. So what else would we need? Connect, and we would need a send transaction. Send only sign transaction because we create it and then we want to be able to sign it. Maybe sign and send. And maybe just a sign, because then we could also use our own RPCs to send the transaction. So this would be a sign transaction result, and the other one would be a sign and send transaction result. And they would all be async, of course, so that we can await them. But to get the results, we would need some kind of callbacks. Like in our app, we use the messages in the example, which I like a lot, but it's probably not so common in a public repository, and it would add another dependencies, our frictionless framework, so that we probably don't want. You also can't register this as a singleton, but it would then be, so I guess in our deep link service, we would then have a public deep link wallet. And this would be our deep link wallet. So now we can start refactoring this and replace everything, put everything in the interface, and then do the implementation. That's a good idea. think we won't be able to await these functions actually, because these deep links, the Unity events from the application. So we might need to go for some callback pattern. So I think what we're gonna do is we make these all void for now, and then we port over all the logic, and then we see how we can make it nicer. So I already copied over the init function. So we set the deep link URL scheme, and then the wallet deep link URL, which is this one. So instead of sending a message, we're now gonna just create an action on wallet connected, and when we set the public key and send a message instead, then we do and callback. And this callback we set in the connect function. So let's make this on. Wallet connected. So now when we connect, we gonna connect. So transfer transaction, hello world. Ah yeah, here. So we need this part. So when we connect, we set the callback, and then we take the app metadata URL. It's also one that we need to put into the initialize. So let's put this here for now, and then string app metadata URL, because that's the one when you open Phantom and the little pop-up pops up and shows the icon and the name of the app. This will be this URL. So we just put a default value, app metadata URL. Okay, so that looks good already. This we still need. Okay, so we just escape the deep link URL scheme that we set in init. Then we call with unphantom connected. The logging we don't need here. Be nice if this link would maybe be configurable, but then again, maybe the users don't want to configure it, they just want it to work. So maybe the version we could make configurable, because that's the thing that may be changing. Okay, let's do that. Phantom API version gleich v1. Private. So we use this one here. I can. And I think it was lowercase. Okay, let's try to keep the private stuff private and public stuff public. So for the error handling, we need to replace also, of course, all our messages with something else. So I'm also giving an onConnect error callback here, and then I remove all these errors. The problem is there's like a bunch of different errors that can happen. One is that there's just an error message in the result from Phantom in the deep link URL that we are getting back. Second one is that the data could be empty. This happens, for example, when the user cancels the connection, and then there could also be like a proper error after we unpack the message, and this would then be the Phantom error. So I have like these three different errors, but they will all point to the same onConnect error, because I think it makes sense since all of these errors are kind of the same, and for the user it would be the same. For the interface, it's a bit of guessing, because I don't know how other wallets will implement it, and I'm not sure if they all will use the same API. So maybe we figure this out later and just get it to work with Phantom now. And then we decide later what the interface could be to work with Saga and any other mobile wallets. Okay, so I just figured that this callback solution probably won't work, since the user could theoretically go to Phantom, don't do anything, go back to the app, start another transaction, and we would lose track of the first transaction, since the callback would be overwritten. So what we could do is have events that you just subscribe to these events, but then you could still have the same problem that you don't have the connection between the transaction you're sending and the transaction that you're receiving from. So I guess what we gotta do is, and we also can't pass any extra data to these deep links. But what we can do is we can change the URL, the callback URL. Currently it's just on Phantom connected and on transaction successful, but we could add a transaction ID here that we count up, and then we would be able to link the transaction that you're sending and the connection back to the transaction that you're receiving. The thing is, the player could still kill the app in between, and we would lose the connection again. So what we then could do is we could save this transaction ID in the player prefs. Well, then what could happen is that you still lose track of the signatures you're getting from the transactions. So what we could do for that is also save all the signatures in the player prefs and the transaction IDs, and then we could try to get them from Phantom afterwards. This still wouldn't solve the problem that the player starts a transaction, goes to Phantom, goes back to the app, kills the app, and then approves the transaction. So we would still lose that one, which is not good. So what we could do for that is save the whole transaction, get the whole transaction history when we start the app from Phantom. The problem with that is that we wouldn't know which of the transactions belong to our app. So this is a problem I don't know how to solve yet. So now we have the problem that that our implementation for WebGL isn't compatible anymore, because before I was saving the public key in the deeplink service, but it doesn't really make sense anymore now. So what I'm gonna do now is the try get phantom public key. I will make an if-def if Unity WebGL. Then we gonna return the public key from the JavaScript wrapper service, and otherwise we take the one from the Phantom deeplink service. So if it's not WebGL, we do that, and otherwise we return service factory instance resolve JavaScript wrapper service dot public key. Now should be a string. So put this here, and then as soon as we are connected with the WebGL wallet, then we set this key. Okay, so that's good enough for now. So now I changed it to the event pattern. So we have this event of actions on wallet connection success, on wallet error, and on transaction successful. And now we just need to copy our code that we had before, put it in here, and remove all the callbacks from the functions. It's not super nice, but it's the only way I currently see how we can make this asynchronous work, also with multiple transactions. So I cut out a little bit because I found it annoying to talk all the time. But now I have this interface here, the deeplink wallet, and it has these 4 actions that you can assign to, like event actions. So you can just with plus equal, you can just listen to them. And then we have the on deeplink transaction successful, the on connection success, the on wallet error, and the on deeplink triggered. And we have the init function where we put in the scheme, which is for Android in the Android manifest, for iOS on the player settings. Then we put in an RPC client to get the current block hash. We put in the app metadata URL to be able to show an icon and the text. And we put the API version of the Phantom DeepLink API or whatever other wallets we implement later. Then we have the connect function, which just establishes a connection and gives us back the public key of the connected DeepLink wallet. Then we can get the public key from that wallet. We can get the current session ID. Don't know if we need it outside of the wallet, but it's nice to be able to get it probably. And then you get have the get app metadata URL in case you need it. And then we have sign and send transaction. Later I will probably also add just sign transaction, and then we can await it, because then we can use our own RPC to call it. And then we have this nice open URL in wallet, and for Phantom it's just phantom.app URL browse, then URL and ref URL. And then I have some classes here for the error, the wallet successful. And yeah, I wrote all this, and then I updated our SDK to the new SDK from Garbled in the package manager. So you can see it here, the Solana SDK. And maybe we put our example also in here later. This is still the example from Solana art, which is nice, but our, for example, now has a bit more functionality. And then I created a pull request. So I just put these two wallets, these two classes here, into Solana Unity DeepLink wallet. I was thinking about making it compatible with the normal wallet, but it just doesn't really fit in there, because it just connects and doesn't have much more functionality actually. So if you see here, the wallet has all of these things like duration pass, seed mode, seed, account. Like we wouldn't have an account. Mnemonic we also don't have, because we don't have a private key obviously. We don't need all these different initializations. The only thing that could fit is like this sign. Yeah, sign. So yeah, doesn't really make sense to me, but let's get some feedback from the other developers, and yeah, then we will see if it gets merged, and then we directly have it on our project, and we can delete the class we wrote ourselves here and can just use the class from the package. So that was our little refactoring / open source participation session. Let me know if you like that, if it makes sense, if anyone wants to listen to it. And yeah, if so, subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, just come back later without knowing that there's a new video and check it out. See you.